Hi everybody, John Amos here from Man Matters, and apologies for not posting many videos for a while. Been pretty busy the last few months of summer, and I will be putting a few more videos up over the next week or so. So don't forget to hit the subscribe. Let's try and see if we can get up to 100 by the end of September. That'd be great. Hope you've all had a great bank holiday weekend. This is part one of a two parts video I'm going to do for AFC Bournemouth fans. This is 5 books that I think you should read, and they cover quite a range of years of AFC Bournemouth history. The first one is Harry Redknapp's first autobiography, called Harry Redknapp, My Autobiography. And I started watching Bournemouth in 1994, just after they'd appointed Mel Machin as manager, who took over from Tony Pulis. Pulis had been Harry Redknapp's right-hand man and took over when Harry left to go to West Ham. It's an entertaining read, contains many stories which Harry Redknapp has subsequently repeated, such as when he signed Carl Richards and missed out on signing Ian Wright. Some of those well-known tales feature in this book, ones he's repeated in the jungle and in many interviews on TV. But it's still an entertaining read. There's some stories that he doesn't repeat as much these days from his West Ham managing days. Some entertaining ones about the great Portuguese player Paulo Future when he signed him at West Ham. But there's quite a lot about his time at Bournemouth, his first managerial job, and a great read. The second one, a few years after Harry left for West Ham and Bournemouth had Mel Machin in charge, they hit the financial problems, and a local solicitor called Trevor Watkins, he took over as chairman and turned it into Europe's first community-owned football club. So Cherries in the Red by Trevor Watkins is his story about his time securing the community status for the ownership of the club. It contains some great stories, discusses some of the playoff near misses that we had under Mel and Sean O'Driscoll, the trip to Wembley. Interesting comments about the likes of John Bailey, Crystal Warren, Jamie Vincent, including that story of when we sold Jamie Vincent and replaced him with a striker and Crystal Warren at left back, and ultimately many think that cost us promotion. So that's another great read. Third book I recommend, One Hit Wonder, the Jimmy Glass story. Jimmy Glass was a goalkeeper that we signed from Crystal Palace, famous for always wanting to be a striker. In his book he talks about his time joining Bournemouth, his addiction to gambling, interesting stories about his trips to Bournemouth casinos. But he's of course famous for going up front in the 90th minute and scoring that goal that secured Carlisle United's place in the Football League. So Jimmy, well-known character, working at the football club now, and a great story. Fourth book I recommend, Take Note by Darren Anderton, his autobiography. Darren Anderton, as a Spurs fan, I always loved Darren Anderton. I know his biography title is a pun on his nickname of Sick Note. But he still averaged 20 games a season for Tottenham, and not far off what Matt Le Tissier averaged in his time for Saints. And I know many people think Anderton should have played less for England and Le Tissier should have played more. But anyway, he came to Bournemouth. It was a great signing at the time. Great player, one of the best players I've ever seen play for Bournemouth. And he, of course, left the club, left Bournemouth, joined during, I think, Sean O'Driscoll's reign, and then left us during the short-lived Jimmy Quinn era. So some great stories about Jimmy Quinn's time in charge and the reasons why Darren Anderton ended up quitting. He talks a bit about his mate Sammy Igo, another good player who Bournemouth signed around that time. And of course lots of stories about Warren Cummings, Brett Pittman and those other young players who were lucky enough to get the chance to play with Darren for AFC Bournemouth at that time. Lastly, the fall and rise of AFC Bournemouth by former Bournemouth Echo journalist Neil Meldrum. Great book detailing our rise from the greatest escape season when we were -17 all the way up to promotion to the Premier League, where we stayed for 5 years. Neil Meldrum, obviously a well-known local journalist, former sports writer for the Daily Echo. So a great interview with him. I think it was on Back of the Net podcast, so check that out. Claims that it cost his book sold a lot less because the club shop wouldn't stock it. The reason he thinks the club shop wouldn't stock his book is because of the Shwan Jalal chapter. Shwan talks about his contract negotiations and what went wrong and his treatment by the club. So there's chapters of the book which are interviews Neil did with various players from that time. and some of them are great read. Lee Bradbury's another interesting story. Talks about signing Matt Tubbs and what the newspapers said about the fee and what was really the fee, and lots of little insights like that. I find it a fascinating book. Great list at the end of all the players that played for Bournemouth during that time as well, which is always a useful reference if you're into your Bournemouth statistics. Anyway, that's 5 books, and I'm going to do another 5 fairly soon. So hit the like and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Thanks.